Alright, g'day there. Richard Musgrave-Evans here again and welcome back. Now today, back down the coast, well in the studio, but back down the coast is going to be what it's all about. I'm going to be using the pellet knives, but at the same time I'm going to use a little bit of brushwork as well, so it should be something a little bit different. Got heaps of oil paint, like I said, the trusty pellet knives. This time I'm on a Belgian linen, but instead of having a clear primer, I've got a white primer. Just put a bit of a tape to get the horizon. Now let's get into it. Alright. Alright, so I've got this brush here with a little bit of cobalt blue and it's a tiny bit of gum turpentine, so just enough to thin it off a bit so I can move the paint around. Now I'll just put this across. That'll go. That's about it. Now I'm going to get rid of that straight up. Whoa, nearly wore it. That is all I need that for. End of story of that one. Okay. Now here we go. What are we going to do? Let's just put this in here somewhere. Yeah, that can run along like that. There'll be a bit of this jutting up here. Something along those lines. This one can come down in here. Just feeling it, not getting too precise and accurate just yet. Okay, that can be up in there. That's about right. Okay. Shoot it down around like so. Yep, yep. About here, I would say. All right, well that's the quick linear. That's about that. Now just stand back and make sure that all the balance correct. Alright, well that's about it for the thin terped off stuff. Now I'll get the trusty palette knife, straight paint, and start getting into the darkest dark. So, I might go for, what do we got here? Alizarin Crimson, which is a nice red, and Viridian Green. That combo makes it real dark. They're the opposite on the colour wheel, so it makes it super dark when you put them on top of each other. Just feel my way around here. Don't get too carried away with the darks, like I said, it's just enough. I might fill this corner in here, why not? I'll fill that in. Okay. A bit more of that brew. I can go around there like so. The corner can be there. Alright. Feel the flow lines about what's going on here. That's about right. Okay, now I'll go slightly lighter. So what will I use? I might use magenta and blue. Tiniest bit of white just to lighten her off a bit. Let's see what we've got here. Now that's obviously a slightly lighter tonal value, which makes it recede off into the distance that little bit. Maybe a tiny bit of that on there. It's roughly about the same distance, so that can be there. That can be there. Right, now I'll go lighter again. So I've got more white and more of the cobalt blue. So it's getting cooler as it goes off into the distance. It's got more of the blue. It's a lighter tonal value. Like that. So I'm putting the darkest darks in first, obviously, and I'll paint the lights over the top of that. Seems to be the easiest way with oil paint. You can do the opposite, as you know, as I've said before, but In a lot of ways it's easy to put the darks on first like that. Yeah, right, let's just have a look, eh? Alright, that'll do. I'll just get stuck into probably, let's get this blocked in quickly. So we'll go for some cobalt blue and white. Just want to knock it down a bit with some magenta. And a little bit of the green. It's just going to take the chromatic saturation off. Maybe I'll use burnt sienna instead. Burnt sienna with the cobalt blue almost makes it a little bit like a green, a greyish sort of green. Because this is off in the distance, I'm just trying to knock it back a bit in intensity of colour. So it's ever so slightly greyed, it's not just a straight blue. Slightly lighter because it's too dark in value. Okay, let's just put that on there. It's going on nice. Now straight away I can see, that could almost go slightly darker, the shadow, because it's almost the same value as the water, and I want the shadows to be slightly darker than the water. So I'll just darken that value a little bit. There we go, that's better. Okay, right, back into it. Blue. Viridian green, magenta, blue. That one can be there. That one can be there. Nice. Just block that in. Now you can see with the palette knife, it's a good way to get big chunks of paint on straight up. Burnt sienna, I'll try the burnt sienna and blue again. Makes it a kind of greyish, greeny. Yeah, that's all right to there. You can see it's a good way to get a lot of paint on. If instead of putting on in thin layers, you can stick it on. You know what I'm saying? You can stick it on straight up so you've got tons of paint to play with right from the word go, if you like. Throw a bit of turquoise in. Now I'm going to mix up, there's a lot of varying colours in this water, so I'm going to mix up a little bit of yellow ochre and turquoise. Going to need more of that turquoise, I can see it. Just over here, there's some nice shallows around this area. And in here, put them in. A bit more yellow ochre as it gets closer, and then you're looking more down into the water. Like that. Let me just stand back and have a look at what I'm doing, eh? That's not too bad. Change tacks a bit, I'll go for magenta and blue. A bit darker, and I want it to be a little bit more purple because I'm playing with the water here, as in the deeper purple colour will be more like the weed. Maybe it needs a bit more burnt sienna. You've got the seaweed on the bottom. Seaweed on the bottom, as well as the sandy bottom. So you've got the combination of both. Bit of seaweed, bit of sand. Good blend of both. It's a bit darker and richer as you get in here. Nice burnt sienna. Right up close. Might be a bit too dark. I might have to lighten that a little bit. Get a little bit carried away with the value there. Just lighten her up a bit. There we go. nice. What am I doing here? A bit more burnt sienna and yellow ochre. Just in there. Right, a bit more blue, a bit more green, burnt sienna. Get it nice and deep and dark down here. Lighten her up a little bit, just on the edge here. Oh, where are we here? There. Mix, 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 mix. A bit more turquoise with the white. Oops, let's just go a little bit more turquoise version. Just about out of that turquoise there, so I'm going to get some more. I want turquoise in there, that's nice. Fill that in. That's good. Bit of turquoise out there. Let me just have a look what I got, eh? Alright, let's just play with a little bit more of this pretty and green. Okay. Now, before I get too carried away on brushes or anything, just got this, clean this one off. Let's just get some of these big white patches coloured in. So I reckon we need to get that sky in next. So blue and burnt sienna, magenta, trying to make it almost like a salt haze on the base of the horizon level there. So it's kind of a grey because you get that kind of salt air blowing around, and down low it can get quite grey. Let's add a bit more magenta, a bit more blue. The knife upside down so I can see that edge. Not quite touching yet. I'll bring them together soon. That's it. That's it. That's about right. Right. A little bit more of that along there maybe. Alright, now straight away I'll change tacks. Go for some yellow ochre, cobalt blue. Getting stuck into the paint here, it's alright. That's what it's all about, I guess. A bit more yellow ochre in the mix. Let's just see what I've got. It's got to be lighter in value. A bit more blue too, I think. Less of the yellow ochre. There we go. What are we doing here? A little bit more blue and a little bit more white to keep it light. Just down low here. A bit more white again. Block that in, block, 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 block. Off we go again, a bit more blue in the mix, less of the yellow ochre. There's a few dried up bits of paint in there amongst that, we don't want that. Throw the blue in, throw her in. Get the canvas covered as quickly as possible, or the linen canvas. Go up another level, a bit more blue. Might just put, what do I got? Twang of magenta into that. mixed up. Nice. Can hardly reach up there. Get the coverage. That's it. That's it. A bit more of the yellow ochre in there. You just have a look. It's not bad, but before I go into the brush, I might just darken the horizon ever so slightly in value. Just so it's a little bit darker than it is currently. Alright, now I've got a fairly big brush. I'm just going to start blending. You can see I've got it quite rough. I haven't really blended at all with the knife this time because I'm just going to use, let's put this out of the way, just going to use the brush itself for blending. So let's have a look how that goes. It's quicker once you've got the paint in there. It's a quicker way to do it. It's a lot messier than using just the knife. I just go random marks, plenty of spontaneity. But it's soft, really gives the softness to the knife. So you've got the combination of knife work today, and you can make it soft. You can make knife work soft, but it's not as easy to do as a brush. A brush is very easy to make soft, so. Okay, look at that, pretty good. Now straight up, just going to blend that horizon line. I'll start off with marks this way, just going along like so. Mix it all up a bit. You can see it's blending beautifully now. What are we doing here? Change hands, this is getting hard work. There we go, it's better. Block all that in. I'm just gonna, let's have a look, what do we got? Let's start with a few softer lines like so. Point a bit of that. Alright, well I've got a lot of the cooler tonal values down. Now it's time to start putting some of the warmer colours on, some of the cliff itself. Just drop this in the bin. Alright, so what do I use today? I reckon I'll go for burnt sienna. First I'll just scrape up some of these cooler ones. Some of these cooler values. Stick them over there, I might use them later. See how it goes. Alright, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, obviously some, actually not too much white. I'm going to paint the shadow version first. Shadow version. Alright, so burnt sienna. Because it's a shadow version, it's got to be keyed down slightly, so I'll add a bit of blue to it, which will kill off some of the saturation, because pretty much burnt sienna is of type of orange, so if you start putting the opposite side of the colour wheel, which is blue, you'll kill off the intensity of the saturation. That's a low generalised colour. Let's have a look. Not too bad. Go with that, eh? Go with that. Ooh, I'm starting to wear a bit of paint. Oh well, I guess that's bound to happen. A bit of orange in there, cat orange. I just want to brighten up. There's a bit of an orange. There's variety in the cliff, as there is with anything like this. All these different layers, different sediments laid down over the thousands and millions of years or whatever. So down here there's a little bit more orange I'm noticing, so I'll go with that. That's nice. There's a bit more orange in here in layers, so we'll do layers. Yeah. Now up here it's a little more weathered, so we'll get some of that sky blue that we just only had a second ago. That sky blue mixed with those ochres will end up making it a much greyer value. It's a little bit green, so then I add some red to warm it up a bit. Just got to get the right tone of red. It's a little bit lighter, the weathered rock is a little bit lighter in value. So look, so that's a lighter tonal value and it's a little bit cooler, and that's probably good. This layer here, layers onion boy, this layer is greyer, even the point of having maybe a bit of blue thrown in. A layer of it there too. And that grey is also out here. To lighten her off, just keep on moving around. Get that grey in there. She's very weathered through there. Because I'm getting right into the distance now, I'm going more and more grey as it recedes. Just want a bit more magenta in that. And a little bit more of the blue. It's getting further back, so it needs to be lighter in value, but greyer. That's good, just slightly lighter in tonal value though. That's it. Layer it on. What are we doing here? This one can be out there. Right. Now things are getting really light. Let's have a look. Here, it's very light indeed, but it's got a bit more yellow ochre than that, so it's a bit more an ochre. Light source. All right, now, that's probably it for the shadowy stuff. Let's get into some of the sunlight. Go white to lighten it right up. Yellow ochre and cat orange, bit of brown, burnt sienna. Got to be quite light, I'm noticing. Let's have a look. What's this? There's a nice little island over here. A bit more orange. Yeah, not too bad. A little bit more orange and yellow. Really make it pop here. Stick her on like so. This island's in full light over here, so she's a lot lighter. It's mainly just the light values. Alright, that's a lot of earthy stuff. Let's put some of the foliage, eh? So we got yellow ochre, burnt sienna, with a bit of that viridian green as well underneath. I've already got a bit of viridian green on there, so I can use that. Yellow ochre. Where's this one going to be? I reckon there's the top of that cliff there. The top of that cliff is about here. Yes. Tiny bit of light there. Right, now we'll go back a bit. Alright, so I'll get some magenta in that sky blue that I had earlier. Mix up a light sort of greyish colour. Half mix that into those beautiful foliage colours I was just doing, and see how it's knocked it back all of a sudden? Its saturation has been knocked back into a more of a distant colour. Half mix it in. That now, as it goes back, I'll put even more of it in, so it's just really receding off into nothingness. Lighter tonal veil over here. There's a little bit of sand, beachy type sand here. What was that? That was that Bella the dog. A little bit more of the foliage up here. Hang on, Viridian green, burnt sienna. Top of the island there. It's quite steep. There's not a lot of foliage on that one, but there is green. That same colour that we're doing is also the same as the kind of the water's edge, that weedy type of colour you get right on the edge. Just going to get the knife, just pull through a bit here to soften a little bit. Random marks. Soften, variety. Hang on, go darker than that, get some darker values. Clean brush, very softly pull through. I just want to soften the very edge of where the horizon is meeting the headland. Just soften it that little bit. Same goes for there, wipe that clean. What have we got here? Pull that across. Alright, so now that I've already done all that softening with the brush, I'm actually going to get the knife come back in again to try and pick out the edges of weed, and it's pulling back through into the nice paint. Just put that through there. Slightly darker value, it's making it. So you're getting these different weedy flows through the picture, which is what we want. And little ripples and whatever else, that adds, doesn't it? That's charm. Variety. Let's get some Viridian green yellow ochre again. We just want to paint some beautiful shallows in here. It just needs to be a slightly lighter value, so I'll add a bit of white, not too much. Let's have a look. It's a beautiful colour. That looks like the shallows that you get right there, yeah. Right on the edge where there's rocks and weed. Something along those lines. It's looking good, yeah. Alright, so I'll just get some white and some cad yellow, make a really high key colour, like a sandy sort of colour. Knock up some really light values here where the sun's hitting. Bits and pieces here and there. It's just licking here and licking there. Like that. Bit more of the yellow. Go for the white again. the orange and the yellow, make it a fairly high key. It's quite a brilliant colour over here, it's beautiful, so I'll go with that. Yeah. Okay. One of these real spectacular pieces is this little piece that got lost. This little upright bit of rock here in the ocean. It's a fantastic looking thing. It's sort of sticking out by itself there like that. Getting there. There's different types of rocks. You've got a kind of sandstone here, and these ones that are right on the edge here are actually more like a granite, I think, and I'll just clean this off. It's more like a granite rock. Soft granite on the edge here. Harder type of rock. Jutting out on the edges. With some surf. What you've got is kind of like a protected bay. You've got the main ocean all through here, a bit of an island here, and this side's protected from the main waves by that whole island. But out here on the coast, it's not protected, so you've got bits of fine surf smashing in here with a knife on edge, and little bits of surf obviously on the edge of the island itself. We'll go a lower key than that, so there's more yellow ochre and more of the burnt sienna rather than too much white. It's got to be keyed down because it's a reflection here. Picking up the reflection on the water there, dancing it around. Like so. Here, a bit of white, viridian green, and a little bit of cobalt blue. So it's a turquoise. It's got a little bit more blue in it before. When in the shallow water, so I was going a bit of what is it? Viridian green and yellow ochre. And now I'm going for viridian green with cobalt blue to make it more of that deeper blue colour for the deeper water. Just going to add it in here around bits of surf and whatever else. Just drop it in. In pieces, break it up to give variety. Still using those lovely turquoises. A little bit of blue thrown in. I just want to drop some into these shallows out here. Little bits and pieces just to add interest, breaking up the bulk colour of the water so it's got great bits of variety throughout this big patch of water. You've got all the subtle different colour variances, the different things, the weeds and the turquoise sand and whatever else. All right, things are getting there. I think what I might do is I've left behind a little bit. So I might just put a couple of clouds chuffing around in the sky. So just have a look. Burnt siennas and whites. Grey it off a bit with some of those greys that I've got lying around. Yeah, it's about right. Just put them in. A little bit of a bank running along, you know what I mean? On the coast they quite often go along at the same level for miles. Yeah. Let me just have a look. Yeah, that is good. Now, just a little bit lighter as I go higher. I just put some in here. Move it around a bit. Bit of variety. I can come in like that. Soft. I just go another round with this one over here a bit more. Wipe that clean. Might move that one and make that high level cloud instead. Make that high level cloud. Make them all major on back that way. Let's have a look if that's right. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is put a bit more accent. So I'll go for some white. Yellow. I want it to be quite high key. Just want some more obvious stuff standing out in a few of these areas. Bits and pieces like that jumping out more like an accent. Just going to knock, I've got the light source of the clouds, I'm just going to knock in a little bit with some shadow source. Here and there. Let me just go a little bit more blue and white in some areas. A little bit more blue. We'll lighten that value off with a bit more white. So that's pretty much blue and white. Just got to get the right tonal values, so there we go, that's it. Alright, well here I am in the other studio. I wanted to check the different lighting. I felt like I'd done enough, and in that first studio where I've got the natural sky lighting, it's fantastic for painting, but sometimes I feel like maybe I can't get back quite enough to analyse the whole composition. So once I've done the great block in there and got the major colours and tones, I find that sometimes just changing the lighting, getting in a different studio, looking at it from different angles is better. So what I've got here is I've moved it into here, and I'm going to go for a bit of white. Just put some finishing touches here and there, got some pure white. Now where do I want this one? Let's have a look. Got the knife upside down. Just put some fine lines like a bit of breaking surf, etc. We'll just grab a bit of paper towel for a minute, wipe that knife clean. pull that through like so, a bit of a breaking wave maybe. Just little touches here and there to really refine her up and really pull the composition together. It's amazing what a little dot here and there will do in these sorts of pictures. Heaps of broadness and then some tiny little fine bits. Really gives a focal point, really pulls the refinement in and gives the illusion of much more finish all over the picture. So from a distance it's about reality. Up close you've still got all these beautiful marks and shapes of colour and whatever else. Okay, let's have a look. Alright, well, I feel like I've pretty much got everything. I mean, as you know, we can keep on going forever with this sort of style, any sort of style of art, but the thing is to know when to stop, and I feel like I've got my big impression, I've got the big illusion of near to far. Quite happy with all the subtle colours through here. What I've done is, with the paint, I applied the paint with a knife, thick and chunky, and then sometimes you've got to have the confidence, not always, to get the big knife, once you've done it, and then just smear it, and that pulls all those colours that you originally put on in big blocks like this, smear it, it almost turns it into one thing, and it gives you all these subtle rainbow effects of colours. And so what it's done through here is it's softened it, and I did it with the cliff here, just grab like this and pull like that. It's softened it all, but all those colours are there, so they're all smeared together. Made it very subtle and very bold and broad in one mark, but at the same time it takes your attention away from that area and drags you more to these finer, crisper marks, because your eyes always tend to follow things where there's a lot more activity. So if you've got light to dark, crisp mark, hard edges and that sort of stuff, as opposed to the soft edges, your eyes will pull away from the soft edges and tend to go towards the crispness. So it's a great way to give you a bold look to your work, but at the same time lead your eye through the picture. So it starts off here and pulls in like so. Clouds are looking nice, got some nice light and shadow. Those clouds have definitely helped give the feeling of a bit more distance, a bit more 3D effect. I feel like the painting's got a nice close, drifting off for miles off into the distance. Reflections. On the whole, pretty happy. So what I reckon we'll do now is just go get that camera, bring it right in, have a close look around and see what you guys think. Thanks again for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.